based on the order that we have, but I'm going to be honest, that was a very passionate discussion. I know we're feeling very powerful, emotional. It's a very important topic dealing with children. But it was important to do that, to have that discussion. But we are getting behind, so I'm going to try and bring it back together. We're going to do the best we can, but we're going to follow the order. We may not get to all the resolutions, but in light of managing the time, what I will say is if we get to resolutions, the best way to support a resolution is to go to the decision and make the vote. That would be the best way to get through as many as possible. But this is your assembly. But first of all, we want to go to the next agenda item.
Hello. Excuse me,
Oh, sorry,
Chair.
I didn't see you. Microphone 1.
I would like to, Chief Yvette Matanzan, I'd like to suggest that we move on to the resolutions. We're here for business. We got a lot of resolutions ahead of us. Some of us have to leave. So if we can do the resolutions, I would really appreciate that. Miigwech.
So there is a motion on the floor to now adjust the agenda and go directly to the resolutions. I will need a seconder, and then it will be your decision. The next agenda item on the agenda that you've approved is a presentation from the First Nations Women's Council, as well as the Keepers of the Circle, 2SL LGBTQIA PD plus Council updates. So those were next on the agenda. There is a motion to go straight to the resolutions. Seconder, Marcel, thank you. So there is a motion on the floor to go straight to resolutions. All in favor of that motion to go straight to resolutions, raise your hand. Can I get some assistance? Okay, we're going to count. Keep your hand raised. So directors are doing the count. They'll let me know when it's good to lower your hands. Also online, please. Thank you. You can lower your hands. So the motion is carried. Thank you. We'll go right to resolutions, which was going to be my colleague Vera.
Get your papers in order. So I want to say, Miigwech, so in view of, we have 8 resolutions. 2 of those resolutions are from yesterday, so I'm going to ask Adam to go ahead and do those resolutions. And then we've already done 2, so that I'll find out how we received these other ones, because they're late resolutions.
Thank you. So Vera has turned our attention to the 2 KI resolutions. We did read those resolutions into the record yesterday. We did start, and I just want to confirm that the mover and seconder are here. The first resolution is titled Full Participation of Kchichimexibinunog and Recognition of Treaty Livelihood Principles in the Reform of the 1965 Indian Welfare Agreement. The mover is Proxy Sam McKay, who is here. Seconder is Proxy Jonas Beardy, who is here. The resolution was brought forward yesterday, and I'm just looking for my hard copy, but I see the version up on the screen. What I will do is read that therefore be it resolved. Again, just to help refresh everyone's memory, I am told by the resolutions team that there has not been any changes after yesterday's proposed amendments. So I'm going to read what we have, including the proposed amendments. So it reads, therefore be it resolved that we chiefs in assembly, one, direct the regional chief to keep KI fully informed about and able to respond through their regional processes to every negotiation committee activity related to the reform of the 1965 Indian Welfare Agreement, and to ensure KI receives the same notices, information, funding opportunities, and other considerations as all participating nations. Number two, call upon Canada and Ontario to acknowledge KI's participation and to engage with KI on a nation-to-nation basis consistent with Treaty 9, the Caring Society ruling, and the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Three, instruct the regional chief to report to the chiefs in assembly on implementation of this resolution at the earliest, and they've just changed, at the earliest opportunity. And I don't think there's a number 4 that's up on your screen. I'm just following what's on the screen. Mover and seconder had already spoken to the resolution, and there was already considerable discussion. I know, just to refresh your memory, there was a request to defer till today after we had some of the child welfare discussion presentation, and we did have that, including the Jordan's Principle that was done in camera. So the resolution is before you. I'm going to open it up to anybody if you wish to address the resolution. I'm trying to see if there's somebody at mic 1. No, nobody there. Resolution is before you. Second call. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, so that was my request at the last time yesterday, because my confusion around that was how could you be having bilateral discussions with Canada, but then at the same time request that you not just observing the Chiefs of Ontario's negotiations, but actually participating in it. So I just didn't know if anyone could give me some advice about that.
So we do have the legal team from OKT here that was involved in those discussions, and I'll turn it over to Sinead for some comments.
Okay, thank you, Chief McVicker. So what I understood your point to be is how would it work for KI to have both a bilateral, their treaty livelihood process, as well as participate on COO's negotiating team? Yeah, so what you raised does definitely pose some challenges, because that would be two processes going at once with potentially different outcomes, right? I will say when it comes to the makeup of COO's negotiating body for the 1965 agreement reform, that is based on the direction of this assembly. So COO is not going to be changing the makeup of its advisory body or its negotiating body without direction from this assembly. I will say also, just something for folks to bear in mind, is that we are negotiating with the Government of Canada, and we are negotiating with NAN. So COO cannot unilaterally just add a different party with a different set of interests, a different set of lawyers, a different timeline, different objectives, different history, different goals to our negotiating team unilaterally. That's not something COO can do, because we are a part of a process where we signed a trilateral agreement. We all signed that agreement, COO, NAN, and Canada.
As I know.
Yes. So
That's why, I mean, if they're gonna do that, then I wanna do it. You know what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying, absolutely, Chief. And that question is for this assembly to decide. There's not a legal component to that. The only legal component is that to advise the assembly that we cannot unilaterally add people to our negotiating team or extend our negotiating mandate, because we're not negotiating on our own. We're negotiating in a trilateral process.
So then it has no effect, even if it is passed. It would have no effect.
I wouldn't say it exactly has no effect. I would say we can't act unilaterally.
So if it's passed, then we're telling you to act unilaterally?
It's telling us that KI is a part of the coup negotiating team and that has its own independent seat. But the challenge is that the coup negotiating team we're negotiating together with the government of Canada, right? We've developed a trilateral work plan, which you were deeply involved with, Chief McVicker. And that plan was developed trilaterally on consent. So if we now are adding, this would be, if we add another First Nation as an independent, representing their own independent interests to our negotiating approach, that's a fundamental shift in the way we're negotiating. And we would have to go and tell our other negotiating partners that this is the direction we receive from the Chiefs in Assembly and move forward from that basis. Whether they would accept it or not, we don't know. I don't know that offers much clarity, Chief, but that's what I can
No,
say.
it does. That's what
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Miigwech.
My apologies. We're just making sure that we have the correct resolution up. So my apologies. Just one moment, please.
Hello.
Thank you, Chief St. Dennis. So actually what we'll do, we're just getting some clarification to make sure that legal counsel is responding to the question and also the resolution that's up on the screen that we're dealing with right now. And then after that, we'll go to the chiefs. So we'll start with Chief Wabas online, and then we'll come back to Chief St. Dennis.
Hello.
Kaumasha.
How was it? Okay.
I'll let you know when. There's a weird echo there.
Check, check, check.
Ganun dago.
Okay.
I almost made a comment, but we're public, so I better not. We're not in camera anywhere. The echo comes when my microphone is on and the Zoom microphone is on.
And I has had for a few years and still does have, and no one's going to stand in the way of Kichinemekusit participating through the Independent First Nations. I'm not sure if that addresses the issue or if there's something more being asked for.
Chief McVicker? Is that Chief McVicker?
I think it does address the complexity of having like two processes and, yeah. Thank you. My apologies, I know you've been there for quite a while. All right, Chief Wabas, we have someone online. My apologies. Chief Wabas, please go ahead.
Okay, I think we should move on with the resolution and get the chiefs to decide. You know, the understanding is this: KI never signed on in 1965 Indian Welfare Agreement, and they had their reasons why they didn't sign on. Although they have the program, but they're not administering their welfare program. It's administered by a third party. So their positions is unique, and the understanding should be, okay, Chiefs of Ontario First Nations will be negotiating 1965 Indian Welfare Agreement with Canada. And whatever KI wants to do, whether to join in or just kind of, just be on a sideline or not participate, but still we need to communicate with them. Get them to, give them all the information that they need. That kind of thing. Like, as long as we have an understanding, KI never signed on 1965 Indian Welfare Agreement, and they had the reasons, and Ontario First Nations are going into the potential negotiations with the renegotiations with 1965 Indian Welfare Agreement, and we should understand that KI, we want to keep them informed. Okay, keep them informed and get them to able to respond in terms of their position on the process or on their draft agreement or something, whether they want to be part of it or just be independent. I think we should move on with the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Miigwech, Chief Wabas. One more speaker at microphone 1, Chief St. Dennis. Oh, sorry.
To do what they need to do. The fact is that our First Nations did sign on with the agreement. They did not, whether that be a factor, whether it be a factor with privileged information. When you make a choice for your First Nation, we all have to live with that. But, privy information and whatnot, I can totally support that they didn't sign and support the fact that they want to do what they want to do. But in no way do I think that I'm a signer on that agreement. And if there's something privy, when we say disclosure, inform, if they're already sitting at the table with their own bilateral agreement, that information should be flowing to them anyways. Those are the questions they should ask. Honestly, I don't think a resolution should be coming to the table like this when they're not signers to that agreement. And to request to get information out of those talks, I don't actually think that's appropriate. We follow the guidelines of the agreement that we signed. We chose to sign on to that agreement. We chose to fight it. We want that change within it. I don't want it to be a point where they get what they need and then they just walk away from the table with what they've gotten and they just leave us in the lurch.
So I just think that was my concern. I know I asked for these changes, but vocally, I won't be supporting this resolution. Thank you.
Miigwech, thank you, Chief St. Dennis. Chief Moore Frappier, microphone, I can't remember, what, 3? Microphone 3, please. Microphone 3, please. Sorry, Chief. You sound like you're going to sing a song here or something.
Is this going to complicate our process? Is the question for legal? Will this complicate our process? It's just a yes or no.
No, if KI is participating through the Independent First Nations, which are a part of the 65 Reform Advisory Body, and they're getting their information in that way, then it wouldn't affect or slow down the coup process. If KI were seeking its own independent seat at the table as a negotiator, then it would definitely affect our process.
Thank you, Miigwech. So we've had a lengthy discussion yesterday and today, as co-chairs, our goal is to find consensus. It's clear that we don't have consensus. Proxy Sam, do you want to proceed with the vote? Okay, so with that, we will close discussion and I'm going to call for question. The resolution as amended is before you. Chiefs, all in favor? Sorry. I want to start the other way. Any opposition to the resolution? Raise your hand, please. Opposition. And we're going to check online as well. Would you like your opposition noted? I'll start from this end. Would you like it noted? Okay, thank you. Chief Niganabi, Chief Moore Frappier? No? Are you opposing? Okay, do you want it noted? No. Going around the room. Chief St. Dennis, do you want it noted for the record? Okay. Chief St. Dennis. Chief Hill, Six Nations. Chief McVicker, do you want your opposition noted for the record? No, it's okay. Just do a quick count of that. Thank you. Abstentions. Abstentions to the resolution. I see one abstention. 3, 4, 5. Okay. Do you want your abstentions noted for the record or just abstaining? No? Does anybody want their abstention noted for the record? Chief Bell? But I did see the abstentions. But if you want it noted for the record. Okay. For the record? No, you're okay? Okay, you can lower your hands if there's anybody else that wanted it noted for the record. Okay, thank you. All in favor? Raise your hand, please. And keep your hands raised so that we can do a count. All in favor, including online. We're still doing the count, so if you can keep your hand raised, please. Thank you. So you can lower your hands. Resolution is carried. Thank you. Chief Moore Frappier. Quorum count, thank you. So we'll do a quorum count. We're going to look for red lanyards just to make sure we have quorum. As of this morning, 15 minutes after the call to order, we did have 46 delegates in the room. Based on your rules of procedure that you adopted, quorum would be 50% plus one of that, which would be 24 chiefs. So we do require 24 in the room physically and online to have quorum. I just want to confirm that we do have 35 votes we had, so we do have quorum. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, next resolution. There is the second KI resolution. It was very similar, and I'd like to have it put up on the screen, please. This resolution is titled Kchinamexabiunuk KI Requests Committee Representation on the Final Agreement on Long-Term Reform of the First Nations Child and Family Services Program in Ontario. The mover is proxy Sam McKay, KI, seconded by proxy Jonas Beardy, Wapakika, and they are both in the room. So we'll go to the therefore be it resolved. It says, therefore be it resolved that we, the chiefs in assembly, one, support KI to be accorded equal consideration for a person to be appointed to the Ontario Reform Implementation Committee when appointments are deliberated on at a duly convened chiefs in assembly. Two, the parties, notably the Chiefs of Ontario, will represent the best interests of all First Nations in Ontario, including KI, and where a KI appointment is successful, the Chiefs of Ontario will facilitate that the KI appointee who will bring viewpoints related to the implementation of an inherent right will have equal participation and the ability to voice concerns as any other appointee to the RIC. Is that it? Just two? That's the two paragraphs. Mover, proxy McKay, if you want to speak to the resolution.
I don't have much. It's done? No, I don't have much to say. It's just pretty straightforward. It was 8 on the, what do you call that, the implementation committee, Rick. I believe there are some open opportunities for people to be appointed. We're just asking for one of those seats from KI. That's pretty straightforward, for the same reasons as the previous resolution. Thank you.
Miguel, seconder, do you want to speak to the resolution? Okay, thank you. The floor is open. If there's any interventions, any discussion on the resolution. Microphone number 1.
Hi, Marcel Donio, proxy for Chief Gledu from Sandpoint. I have a point of clarification that I would like, because I don't quite know what it means and what obligation this is going to put on Chiefs of Ontario. It says the parties, notably the Chiefs of Ontario, will represent the best interests of all First Nations, that's all fine. And where a KI appointment is successful, the Chiefs of Ontario will facilitate that the KI appointee who will bring viewpoints relating to the implementation of an inherent right will have equal participation and ability to voice concerns as any other appointee. My question specifically is, what does it mean when it says that COO will facilitate the KI appointee participating? Does that mean there's going to be an expectation of payment of all expenses and that kind of stuff? It would be nice to have that explained before we do the vote on it.
Miguel, so I'll turn to the drafters of the resolution, proxy McKay.
I didn't quite hear the question, sorry.
Proxy Marcel, if you can repeat the question, he didn't quite understand or hear the question. We can have the microphones turned up, please. We can't hear in the room.
Understand the question? Yes. Don't yell at me. Mr. Chair, you see what you're doing? I'm being yelled at. I'm just having fun.
You're okay, proxy Marcel.
what I would like is clarification on what it means when it says that COO will facilitate that the appointee will have equal participation and ability to voice concerns. It sounds to me like if there's a KI appointee, COO will undertake to make sure that that person comes and has an opportunity to contribute. Now, whether that means an all expense paid trip, transportation, and so on, I'm not clear as to what it means because we all come here on our own nickel, so.
So I know Proxy McKay can respond, but I'm going to turn it over to legal counsel as well.
Okay, thank you, Miigwech Proxy. So I just want to clarify about the Ontario Reform Implementation Committee. So the Ontario Reform Implementation Committee will, in general, not be dealing with matters to do with First Nations exercising jurisdiction, which is Kijinamekusibininuag. They have their own law. The Reform Implementation Committee is dealing with the Ontario Final Agreement, which basically deals with matters for First Nations that are not exercising jurisdiction, just broadly speaking. So there's a little bit of a difference there for us to be aware of. The Ontario Final Agreement has one paragraph about First Nations exercising jurisdiction, but it doesn't deal with day-to-day funding for First Nations exercising jurisdiction because that is dealt with by those First Nations in their coordination agreements. On the question about the RIC and what will be provided to those individual RIC members, so there will be per diems provided to RIC members and costs associated with their participation in the Ontario Reform Implementation Committee will be paid, right? So if this resolution, Proxy, to your point, is asking for something more than that I don't know. But people who participate in the Ontario Reform Implementation Committee will get a per diem and they will get their costs of participation covered. That's part of the whole process that was negotiated when we negotiated the ORIC. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but you don't need to necessarily worry about those matters. The ORIC appointments are not being made yet though, right? Because the ORIC is only live when the Ontario Final Agreement is live. So the stage that we're at right now is that the ORIC job description was Leadership Council directed in September that it be sent to every chief, and every chief have an opportunity to provide their input on the ORIC. It's not exactly a job description, but just to call it that for shorthand, and that was done, and the feedback period has since closed, and feedback was received. So once the Ontario Final Agreement is passed, within 60 days, the ORIC will be established, and so that's when these 5 people would be appointed. So they're not being appointed by this assembly until the agreement is approved and 60 days after the agreement is live. I just want to provide that context for folks. So this resolution is basically asking for a seat on a body that isn't yet active, but to preserve and protect that seat for Kitchener-Mekusip specifically. Yeah, I don't know if that helps, but.
Miigwech, we'll go back to microphone 1, Chief McVicker.
Right, so the intent to date was to have 5 seats, right? So they're asking for a 6th seat. Well, I want a 7th seat then. And she wants one too. You know, like, I don't think, I don't know. Why wouldn't they go to the independent nations and try to get the seat that way? With their own region, right? Or their own group, organization,
Chief
pardon me.
McVicker, if I may just respond to that. So the 5 seats will be for individuals. So those individuals won't necessarily be appointed by their PTO. They will be appointed by this assembly. So
it's not each organization
No.
that's bringing forward?
no,
Name?
it's not. No, they will be appointed by this assembly. So there will be.
That's what it says in the agreement?
That's correct. Yeah, so it won't be PTO based.
And they're asking for then just the status that they are one of those 5s.
Can you repeat that, please, Chief?
So they're asking today that we all agree that they will be one of the 5.
As I understand the resolution, Mr. McKay, Is the resolution, is that what you're asking for? That Kitchener Kusabiniwag be one of the 5 members of the ORIC as appointed by the Assembly?
What are they asking for?
I
then?
understand them to be asking for equal consideration when the appointments are deliberated upon. But the appointments are not being deliberated upon yet.
That's what we're asking for, is just to be given equal consideration for all
Yeah.
of those 5 seats.
Well, then, yeah, that's given. I mean, if you're saying it could be anybody, yeah.
That's right, it could be.
It doesn't, then why do they need this resolution? I don't understand why you need it. It's given. If anybody can be appointed, why would we not give you equal
It's
consideration?
the same situation as the 65 welfare agreement. We already have a coordination agreement in the FRA with Canada and Ontario, but we still want to be
Oh,
part and
you
parcel
already
to this.
have
Yeah,
a
but we're
coordination
still,
agreement.
because our concern is
Oh,
whatever is decided in the grander scheme of things, we want to be aware if anything's going to be impacting us in any way. That's why we're asking for this.
but the implementation of, under the OFA is what they'll be looking at, this committee. So it doesn't make sense to me that you're on that committee because you've already gone through that journey, which I'm very happy for you. I wish that we had done that by this point, but we haven't. I'm very happy for you, but the committee is tasked to assess the effectiveness of the programming in the agreement that you're not concerned about because you've got your own agreement now. So I don't understand.
Thank you, Chief McVicker. I just want to maintain some order. So thank you, Chief McVicker. Now for the response, Roxy.
Yeah, I just want to say something that I wasn't going to. Yeah, we have our own agreement. We have our coordination agreement, and we have our funding relationship agreement for the implementation of our law. But we found out yesterday that there are, because of the change in government in the last federal election and with the budget, we ran into some issues as of yesterday that we've already were aware of last couple months, and that there's going to be press release coming out today in that regard. And I believe the regional chief is going to get a copy of it shortly. And this is the reason why we want to be included in what's going on, because we're not opposed to the final agreement. We're not opposed to that process. We just want to be stayed informed so nothing impacts one or the other. And I mentioned this yesterday with the 65 welfare agreement, working in collaboration, even though we weren't signatory to the 65 welfare agreement. We want to work in collaboration with the Chiefs of Ontario. And it's the same idea with this BCR, the resolution. Thank you. And I think that's about all I'm going to say, because I think that's pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Thank you, Proxy McKay, the drafter of the resolution. So before I go to Chief St. Dennis, I just want to clarify what I just heard for the record. I think there was a question of what does this actually mean? The resolution reads, support KI to be accorded equal consideration for a person to be appointed to the committee. And the question was, does this mean that they will be designated a seat at the committee? And the response I heard in this discussion was there are 5 seats on that committee, and this does not mean they will be designated a seat. It means they will be accorded equal consideration to be appointed to a seat is what I'm hearing. I just want that noted for the record, just so that we understand. Chief St. Dennis.
Thanks, Adam, for that clarification, but it doesn't change the fact that I think these 5 seats belong to the people who signed on that agreement. There's a lot of other ways to get information, and it doesn't need a resolution, because what's going to happen is you're going to see a lot of resolutions coming towards this from First Nations. We're not trying to be combative, not supportive, but there's a reason why we sign on agreements and do what we do, and then there's a reason why we don't sign on these agreements. But again, some of these tables are for the people that I believe signed on this agreement who are fighting that fight. They are independently fighting that fight. We can get them information as they want. They don't need I don't think they need a resolution. And whether it be to be on or to be recognized, because it should be an all around for all First Nations at these table to be recognized and hope that they get on the table. Not just one First Nation. And I said to focus on one when they're not signatories on this agreement. I think that's what my real trouble is. Like, I don't see it. Like I said, when you don't have to sign on agreement and you can get what you need and for your First Nation, but when we sign on, that's what we sign on. And we've been looking at this. By trade, I'm an Ontario Works Administrator for social services. I service 3 First Nations in Chapleau, and with all different needs. You don't think we're trying to sit at that level and try to change and sit at the table to change the agreement, part of that agreement? So we're all at some impacted by this agreement. But I think when you're a signatory, that's who should have top priority at the table.
Good. Thank you, Chief St. Dennis. One more speaker, Proxy Baptiste.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Sean Batiste, proxy for Chapleau Ojibwe. So I agree with
Sorry,
Chief-
Sean, I can't hear.
Can't hear me? Okay.
Microphone 3.
Got it?
You can turn
Hello?
up the volume.
Sean Batiste, proxy for Chapleau Ojibwe. So I agree with Chief St. Dennis and Chief McVicker. And, you know, I do, the resolution, as you state clearly, Adam, it is for consideration, you know, equal consideration. But it is sort of a one-off and a bit odd to me, especially when, I think to Chief St. Dennis's point, they're asking to stay informed. But being at that table is actually your participant. You're a participant. You're not there as an ex officio or an observer. You're asking to be at the table. That's more than informed. That's participation. So, I mean, the Assembly can obviously consider this when it comes time to appointing the 5, but, you know, either way, I just, you know, to me, it's not staying informed. It's actual, you're on the committee, you're participating.
Miigwech, Proxy Baptiste. So as speakers, as co-speakers, as chairs of the Assembly, our goal is always to find consensus, to find a way of finding agreement. Oftentimes we'll have to pause on something and have a side discussion. I know that this resolution is very similar to the previous resolution. We did pause yesterday. We wanted some time to take it out, think about it, and come back, and to see if we can find consensus. It's clear right now we do not have consensus on this resolution, but as the mover, if you want to proceed on the vote, we will get Dujgadek that we would proceed. Minega Dujgadek, do you want to proceed on the vote? I guess I'm looking for a yes or a no.
I'm okay with it if you want to proceed.
Miigwech. So the resolution is before you, chiefs. I'll start with opposition. Any opposition to the resolution? Please raise your hand, and we will have to do a count. Opposition, if you can keep your hands raised, please. Thank you. Lower your hands. Apologize. Online. Online. We have one in opposition. I just want to clarify because we looked away for a second. This is for online, opposition to the resolution. Online, I'll give you about 5 seconds here. Thank you. You can lower your hands. And I want to make sure the hands are lowered online. Abstentions. Abstentions, please raise your hand. Keep them up, just so that we can do a count. Miigwech, so at this point, it is obvious that the resolution is not carried, so thank you. There is one more resolution, one more on-time resolution, a resolution that was submitted before the deadline. The others are late resolutions. Normally what we do is we will deal with the late resolutions if we have time. Time is running away on us, but there is one resolution that was submitted on time. So I'd like to proceed to that resolution. This is resolution, it is up on the screen. It says, it's titled Resolution Against Nuclear Waste Transportation and Burial. It's moved by proxy Kyle McLaren, Ford William, who's here. Seconder is proxy Mel Hardy, who is also here. So the mover and seconder are here. So I'm going to go to the operative clause of the resolution on page 2. If we can scroll down, please. So the resolution reads, therefore be it resolved that we, the chiefs in assembly, 1, are opposed to the transportation and burial of radioactive wastes, including the transportation of high-level nuclear waste in Ontario. 2, call upon the Federal Minister of the Environment and Climate Change Canada, ECCC, the Federal Minister of Energy and Mines, and the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada, IAAC, to ensure that the transfer, transportation, and processing of nuclear fuel waste, which is integral and incidental to the NWMO's proposed deep geological repository and part of the NWMO's nuclear waste project, is fully described and examined as part of the federal impact assessment process. 3, call upon the federal crown and its agents, including the IAAC, to ensure that First Nations along potential transportation routes are adequately resourced and supported to participate in all stages of the impact assessment and licensing processes with sufficient technical and administrative capacity to engage its membership, technical experts, and the Crown and its agencies. So that's the resolution before you. The mover and seconder are at microphone number 1. Proxy McLaren, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Proxy Kyle McLaren, Fort William First Nation. Mel's been itching to talk about this all afternoon, so I'm going to give him the time here. Thank you.
Proxy Hardy.
Bonjour, Zongizi de Go Makoktaram Pijawab Exagi Nishtabek Donjubi, Proxy Hardy for Chief Helen Povola from Nabagusgagan First Nation. That's me today. So I stand before you today to address pressing concern that affects us all, the proposed nuclear waste transportation and storage in Ontario. As we gather, I acknowledge the traditional territories and Indigenous peoples who have stewarded this land since time immemorial. The Anishinaabe Nation and Chiefs of Ontario have passed resolutions opposing nuclear waste transportation in the Revel repository site. Despite this, we've seen little response from the NWMO and the settler governments. The lack of acknowledgement and the engagement on free, prior, informed consent is troubling. Indigenous rights and self-determination are fundamental to reconciliation. The NWMO's process has been inadequate and it's time for a change. We need a comprehensive plan that prioritizes community safety, well-being, and consent. And I urge the NWMO and governments to engage in meaningful consultation respecting free and prior informed consent and Indigenous making processes. We will continue to stand together in asserting our rights and protecting our lands, waters, and future. You know what? I don't know how long and how many times, this almost a decade for me, standing here talking about the same thing. And I think back to Chief Don Merrick's statement about our advocates and who is actually advocating, because we're not seeing no response whatsoever. So one of the things that is really important is that we strengthen our advocacy, because sending a letter and it probably goes to the bottom of the pile, it doesn't work. And in our territory, Northern Superior region, where I'm a regional chief of, the chiefs in my region, they do oppose, and they have always opposed transportation. But as it stands now, and I know that somebody's not doing their job, or somebody just doesn't care, and how I'm talking about in the ministry or maybe this office, but what's happening is there's already nuclear waste coming in from Manitoba, coming across, right across Ontario, and there's also from the south, there's a nuclear activity happening coming up this highway. So this is already happening. Anyways, so I do support this resolution for the fact that this is about our future of our people, and we need to ensure that the governments and NWMO, to me, is being supported fully by the government. They need to do what they're supposed to do, and that's to consult and free, prior, informed consent. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Proxy Hardy. The floor is open for any discussion, interventions on the resolution before you. Microphone 1.
Miigwech. Bidabano kwe Jessica Kijik Martin Dishnikas, Maingan Minma Makwadodam, proxy for Chippewas of Nawash and Cedar First Nation and part of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. I respectfully propose addition to the first point, are opposed to the transportation or burial of radioactive waste in First Nations territories without the free, prior, and informed consent of the impacted First Nations. Free, prior, and informed consent, that's the end of the amendment proposed. Just to follow that, free, prior, informed consent is a way we assert our sovereignty, self-determination, and jurisdiction, and it's foundational in the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which states that resource development and burial of hazardous materials in Indigenous territories will not happen without our free, prior, and informed consent. In our Saugeen Ojibwe Nation territory is the second largest nuclear power plant, Bruce Power, that was constructed in our territory without our consent. We've been burdened with this issue while also not agreeing to be the host territory that provides this immense electricity to the grid in Ontario. We have a nuclear waste issue in our territory. It is a problem that we did not create, and it is a problem that has great impacts on our lands, waters, and people. As the rights holders, we need to be lead in determining what projects can happen in our territory to ensure that they're in line with our values and principles as Anishinabek. We are very careful in considering how to resolve nuclear issues as it's sitting in our backyard. Our leaders have worked and fought hard for a right to consent on proposed nuclear projects, waste management projects. For example, our right to consent was recognized and respected on Ontario Power Generation's Deep Geological Repository. We held a referendum for our members in a consent-based process to ensure that they were informed, and the referendum ended up that they rejected the project. The proposed site for selecting the proposed nuclear waste management Deep Geological Repository, our right to consent was respected in that project as well. Although we were not able to get to the end of our decision-making process, the DGR did not happen in our territory. First Nations have different decision-making processes. Membership consent-based decision-making on these major projects has been important to the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. Currently, we're working on a consensus-based decision-making model, and we're happy to speak to the chiefs at any assembly or event to continue learning about what we're doing in our territory. For now, I propose this amendment.
Miigwech. Thank you, Proxy. Mover and seconder, I'm going to turn to you. Here's the proposed amendment. It would now read, are opposed to the transportation and burial of radioactive wastes in First Nations territory without free, prior, and informed consent, etc. Proxy McLaren?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what, with First Nation territory, what do you do when there's overlapping territory and you have multiple communities? One community agrees, they say, yes, we want this here. You get 2, 3, 4, 5 other communities that are saying, no, we don't. So that's the confusion for me on that part.
So some clarification required on that. I'm going to ask I'll say the mover of the proposed amendment. I don't know if you can speak to that. We're going to have that discussion on the side. Please continue that discussion. In the meantime, I'm going to go to Chief Miracle, microphone 2.
I support the resolution generally, but I would like to point out that the statement in paragraph 1 is in conflict with what number 2 and 3 say. So number 1 says is opposition to the transportation of the waste to nuclear sites in Ontario, but then the next paragraph 2 says, well, they ask the minister to ensure the transportation is fully described and examined as part of the federal impact assessment process. So you can't be opposed to it, then say, just tell us what you're doing when you're transporting waste. So it's in conflict.
Would you propose removing or changing?
Well,
I understand what you're saying, so.
Well, I don't know, is there any wording that the mover and seconder would like to propose?
So I'll go to the mover and seconder. So that's the second issue.
So do you just want the minister to tell you what they're doing, or are you opposed to it flat out?
Well, definitely we're opposed, but the reality is they're pushing forward. And recently, so in the beginning of this project, they had always included the transportation within the project scope. Within the last couple of months, their messaging has changed to that transportation will not be included in the impact assessment. So realistically, they're probably going to push ahead. We want to make sure that if they are at least pushing ahead, that we're pushing to make sure that all the transportation routes are included in any kind of impact assessments that they are doing.
Okay. So, Mr. Chair, maybe if the mover and seconder agreed, it could state that they remain opposed to the transportation of the waste, and maybe call upon the Minister of the Environment to meet with them to discuss the concerns that they have. I get that they need more information, I get that, but I would say if they say remain opposed in paragraph 1, and I agree with the other amendment that was put up there, and then call upon the Minister of the Environment to immediately meet with the communities that are going to be impacted to discuss these concerns.
Thank you, Chief Miracle. So I'm trying to deal with one issue at a time. We're dealing with 2 separate issues. I'm getting a thumbs up. Is that for Chief Miracle's issue or this? Okay, so you're okay with that. Is that proposing a change, or is that?
If the mover and seconder agree to it,
okay. They're giving you the thumb. They're giving you the thumbs up. So I just want to make sure that the resolutions team here, has the correct wording, and I will read it for the record, and then I'll come back to the original issue. So I'm looking at the screen here. So this is paragraph number 2, and so in red. We'll just wait for the team to finish here. So if you see the amendment up on the screen, the blue would be deleted and the red would be the addition. So it would now read, call upon the Federal Minister of the Environment and Climate Change Canada, ECCC, the Federal Minister of Energy and Mines, and the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada, IAAC, to meet with the nations that are affected, period. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, and remain opposed.
So add and remain opposed.
No, in number one, remain opposed.
Okay, I just want to stay with
Take out
that
R
one
and
change.
put remain opposed. Yes? What's that?
So
Just give me a minute.
this is your proposed amendment, to meet with the nations that are affected and remain opposed, period.
Nuclear what?
Chief Miracle. Oh,
Sorry. Okay, Kathleen, if I could have her speak to her a little bit of clarity, which agency federally should be involved in this? Go ahead, Kathleen.
Yeah, so actually, Environment Canada is just a regulatory part of this conversation. They're not who you would be writing the letter to. It would be the Canadian Nuclear branch that looks after everything that's nuclear. It would be Transport Canada, it would be the Energy, and I forget what they've changed their name to federally. So there's a whole host of different ministries. So these aren't the right departments.
Miigwech. So Chief Miracle, we're just waiting on that further amendment. But I want to go back to the first one. It would be meet with the nations that are affected and remain opposed. Mover and seconder, were you okay with that? Okay. So the other amendment would be the beginning of paragraph 2. It would be call upon the responsible federal ministries and departments, and then scratch the departments and the ministries that are currently listed. Mover, seconder, you're okay. Okay, let's go back to the first issue, paragraph 1, go ahead.
So to add after consent of all of the impacted First Nations.
Thank you. I'm just going to pause and look to the resolutions team. Just give me 30 seconds here. Thank you. So it would now read, paragraph 1, are opposed to the transportation and burial of radioactive wastes in First Nations territory without free, prior, and informed consent of all of the impacted First Nations. Mover? Good. Seconder? Good. Microphone 2.
Just say ani, mojo. Ukema chinimki dijnakas saging ndonjaba. Chief Conrad Ritchie from Saging First Nation, one of the other chiefs from the territory of the Saging Ojibwe Nation. And I just standing up just to give a bit of comment to the discussion here and maybe some food for thought for some of the leaders to think about. And I would support some of the recommendations or friendly amendments that Proxy Jessica Kijik put forth, but I also wanted to put a bit of thought out to the Assembly and to the chiefs, because most of the nuclear waste that's generated is being generated in our territory, and from that part, there Sagin Ojibwe Nation inherits a lot of the usage that people use. And as a people, we have to really think about what do we value as a people? Where are we going? What do we value? Because in a way, we are all consumers of energy, and we're all consumers, and we could be opposed to nuclear transportation of all the waste. But the way we value things, the way we live, the way we do things, we're all contributing to that. And if that's something we want to get serious and get real about, then we have to really look at how are we living? What do we value? What do we want to show our children in the future? You know, or do we find a way to ensure that our voices are reflective in some of these processes that are happening in our territory? And I get worried, like for our people back home, because of the consumerism that we've all become accustomed to, and the value system that we're losing sight of. And I just wanted to put that out there for the leaders to think about, because when we go back home, you know, you think about elders or others who may be cold, or they're cold, and it's so easy now to just kind of flick on energy to keep them warm. And how many of us are willing to give that up? Or do we enjoy that? And if we enjoy that, what are the alternatives to everything that's facing our people now? And does that mean we sit at those tables to help with the decision making, to slow things down? Or do we oppose it altogether because it's just contradicting where we stand? And how many of us are willing to give that up now? The luxuries of energy and heat and everything that we have, that's the kind of world we live in now. And how do we keep that in balance with our natural law, our understanding of those natural laws, and how do we ensure that those are reflective in all these processes? Because the Indigenous voice has been missing for a long time, a part of this industry. And do we sit there and oppose it, or do we work with it in a way to ensure that our people are eating at the same time? Because a lot of the times we're fighting over Jonia, or we're locked in through contribution agreements, and maybe some of us don't have our own source revenue to generate, to be able to have that autonomy to make our laws, to make our whatever. And everything that we get, revenue that we get, is from government. And in a way, it's like they hold the carrot for our destiny. And how do we take that back? How do we take that back? What other alternatives do we do with that? And I wanted to put that out there for us to think about, and just maybe plant some seeds in that, some of our thinking, because being opposed for certain things and certain lights, and if we are, then what do we do in our communities? What do we do with our children? How do we show them a different way of living? And how many of us are willing to give that up? Because that's what it's going to take to stop everything. That's what it's going to take, is changing the way we live in order to shape that. Or do we find a way, creative ways to kind of work with that? And that's kind of been on my mind right now, and the discussion that was a bit happening. But I just asked for that friendly amendment that Jessica proposed to be supported, And we have to really look at our value system. What do we value as chiefs, as leaders for our communities? Because if regardless if the transportation doesn't go forward or people are opposed to it, Saugeen Ojibwe Nation still has to be able to deal with that, everybody else's benefits, so to speak. So with that, I just wanted to provide some commentary and food for thought, and I say miigwech for listening for now. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Chief Ritchie. We will take one more speaker, and then we'll call for question. Chief Wabas, Kin Shkoyaj, Miazen Babazi Nanuk. Chief Wabas, go ahead. Okay, two more. Chief Wabas, and then microphone 2. Okay, Chief Wabas might be gone. Okay, he's gone. Microphone 2.
I'd like to recognize Deputy Chief Alan Brown.
Deputy Chief.
Thank you. I'm going to make this quick. In 2005, I was a chief, and in the same forum, I opposed the transportation and housing nuclear waste altogether. Today, I'm opposing it as well. No transportation, no housing in our land. And as a Land Alliance member, I will try to protect the land that we have altogether. Thank you.
Miigwech. Okay, one more final speaker. Microphone 3, go ahead.
Miigwech, Chief Kelly LaRocca, Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation. I was just looking at the portion of the resolution before the therefore be it resolved, actually. And it references the NWMO's attempt to exclude transportation from the impact assessment process. That was actually done by the CNSC, by the regulator. So, you know, that kind of ship has sailed in a sense, because regulatory approval has already been given there. We at Scugog, you know, obviously would support FPIC and the spirit and intent of what's trying to be done here, but I would echo the comments of Kathleen Padulo from the other microphone earlier. Yeah, I would echo her friendly amendments. And yeah, I can tell you that Scugog's undertaken its own benchmarking exercise that is looking, comparatively speaking, at waste management practices in other jurisdictions to try and figure out how to hold this issue to task, because we want to be informed and have prior and informed consent. So as part of that information process, we are undertaking that, and just want to say that's the process we're in, and we have yet to consult our community on those findings. But that's all I have at this point. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Chief LaRocca. I just want to clarify, Chief, you're okay with the amendments? Were you proposing an amendment in the where?
Yes, I would propose an amendment there, because the NWMO is not attempting this. CNSC has already approved the exclusion of transportation from that.
Okay, Miigwech, so just...
yeah, I would echo the friendly amendment suggestions raised by Kathleen. Miigwech.
Miigwech. So the proposed amendment would be in the preamble, whereas number 12. Are we ready? So it would say NWMO's exclusion of transportation. It's already been done, is what I'm hearing. Mover, seconder, are you okay with that? Yes, yes, okay, thank you. All right, resolution is before you. I'm going to call for question. Any opposition to the resolution? Any opposition? Opposition? Last call, opposition, none. Abstentions? Abstentions? One abstention, would you like it noted? No, you're okay. One abstention though. Last call for abstentions? Okay, one abstention. All in favor? Raise your hand, please. All in favor? Okay, miigwech. So resolution is carried. That concludes the on-time resolutions. So chiefs, we dealt with all of the on-time resolutions. There were a few late resolutions. Your rules of procedure say we'll deal with them if we have time. Unfortunately, it's the end of the day, so we will not be able to deal with them. So that concludes resolutions. I will now, that concludes my part. So thank you very much. It's been an honor to sit with you the last 2 days. Really good discussions. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Vera, Knowledge Keeper Vera, who actually really helps me, keeps me grounded and keeps me calm. And she's going to help us wrap up and conclude these 2 days of discussions.
And we'd like to say our miigwetches to Resolutions Committee Chair and all of their hard work and whatever magic they do over there, with say miigwech to them. So I'd like to invite the Keepers of the Circle, Abram Francis and Makawa Migwans, to come and do their reflections. And we'd like to acknowledge the Women Council for letting Adam bump them off the agenda. No, for knowing what was required and also giving time for the circle, Keepers of the Circle, to come forward and do their reflections and remarks. So Keepers of the Circle. I'm getting that.
Bonjour, Ani Nawakaki Migwan Dijnakaj and Nishnawbe Ojokwe from the Chippewas, Caddo and Stony Point First Nation. At this time, I want to acknowledge all of our relatives who are here with us in spirit. Each one of us brings our ancestors to the circle. I would like to acknowledge our sacred items that have traveled here to be with us today. That includes the songs, the drums, the rattles, and the singers. I would like to acknowledge our chiefs present in assembly, as well as those who join us virtually. I'm going to acknowledge the Advisory Nation members who are present in assembly, as well as those who are attending virtually, our grandmothers, grandfathers, our women, our men, our youth, and our Two-Spirit, Two-Heart Indigenous queer relatives. I am humbled and honored to stand with our nation members as a member of the Keepers of the Circle, Two-Spirit, Two-Heart Indigenous Queer Circle. This advisory circle includes Heidi Watung, Kit Thomas, Mallory Simon, Nibi Lotit, and Abraham Francis. A special acknowledgement to our nation circle helpers, Sarah Whelan and Rebecca Timms. Our voices and our presence as Two-Spirit, Indigenous Queer, Two-Heart people within many circles has been absent for far too long. Colonialism, assimilation, hate, Christianity, and genocide have silenced us and forced us to hide our identities. But we have now picked up our bundles and are reclaiming our place within our circles. We journey together to restorative balance to both our physical and spiritual worlds. We are part of a shared history as the first peoples to these lands and waters. We are part of a tradition to the ancient societies that we all come from. We do not get to pick and choose what is part of our shared history. Let us continue to walk alongside one another in kindness and love so that each of us may achieve the balance and strength that we all need to walk our path on this earth.
It has been 1 year since a resolution number 24-37S mandated the establishment of a Two-Spirit, Two-Heart LGBTQIA+ council within the Chiefs of Ontario Charter. This resolution was passed unanimously by Chiefs in Assembly. At the annual Chiefs Assembly this summer, we as the Two-Spirit, Two-Heart Indigenous queer relatives came together as council members to share space, to get to know one another, and to reflect on what the purpose of this council would be, what our responsibilities are to each other, to the leadership, and especially to our Two-Heart, Two-Spirit Indigenous queer kin across our nation. It was during this time together that our relative Heidi Witton suggested the names Keepers of the Circle for our group. I will share with you Heidi's reflections on this name. Quote, while speaking with elders and thinking about the roles and responsibilities we held within our communities, the name fit. Many of our people, not just our younger people, do not identify with terms like Two-Spirit, nor do they see themselves along the spectrum of Two-Spirit LGBTQIA umbrella. We were seen as keepers of peace within our communities and within families. We were seen as those who walk in both worlds, as a group sought after by other communities for assistance. A Two-Spirit person sits anywhere within the circle. They conduct ceremony, they are fire keepers, and so much more. This was shared to me by a grandmother, unquote. This council exists as an expression of our inherent rights, our traditional roles, and as an act of nation building. We are a part of the governance structure, and we are here to advise and guide dialogue and decision-making so that the decisions made here are reflective of the needs and living experiences of our Two-Spirit, Two-Heart Indigenous queer kin. We are here honoring the responsibilities that our Two-Spirit, Two-Heart Indigenous queer relatives have always carried in caring for our communities. Our role is to make sure that everyone can safely take part in nation building. We recognize that living experiences are evolving. The priorities of this council are reflective of that. Our purpose is to restore balance by undertaking work rooted in relearning, practicing, living, and embodying our traditional ways of being, seeing, knowing, and relating to one another. A big part of that is on learning colonial worldviews, challenging the colonial structures that have been set in our path, and thinking and existing beyond, outside of, and against those colonial instructions. We exist beyond the colonial binder of gender. We see as part of our role that we are not limited to Two-Spirit LGBTQIAPD+ matters. The Keepers of the Circle commit to standing in allyship with and will strive to speak out for those who may not be able to find their voice or do not have a means to speak up against phobic, hateful, unjust, or unfair acts. A part of keeping the circle is keeping peace and making sure that our circle is a space of safety, acceptance, and belonging for everyone, especially our marginalized kin.
Sego sewo gwego, dahluja te yungyat, wagania trono, danogania haga, nene akazos neganagale. So hi, my name is Abraham Francis. I'm Deer Clan and Mohawk from Akwesasne, born and raised. And a short reflection on the past 2 days, I can see so much important work needing to be done. We all understand the frustration and disappointment that unilateral decision-making has had and continues to have on our people and futures. I'm grateful that this community exists to bring us together, to use our collective, nuanced voices to push governments for action on their fiduciary responsibilities and respect our rights and jurisdictions. The impacts of the action in this room and in the federal and provincial governments are felt on the community level. It looks like denied requests for help or unanswered letters or emails. On a larger level, it looks like losing relatives to inadequate drinking water or resources for our children. Let's remember the implications of this type of work. I will not hold you any longer than needed because getting back home to your communities and families is important. My hope for the future is that we can create space for all of us to share our voices. We are not new to our communities as Two-Spirit people. We've always been here. A wonderful reminder from one of my colleagues, Toby, today. And so I just offer that gratefulness to this space and that reminder that it's important we're here to voice our concerns and to be a part of the conversation so we do not fall through the cracks. And I extend my gratefulness to the Women's Council for offering up the space to be able to speak in this way, and to the rest of the council and all of these sacred items and all of the chiefs in assembly that are still here, and the singers and the drummers. So, Yawa Teknigo.
We want to close by encouraging leadership to continue supporting the mandate of resolution number 24/376 by supporting the visibility of this council and the safety of our Two-Spirit relatives in community and government spaces. We encourage you all to use language that is inclusive of our Two-Spirit kin in all addresses, speeches, or written statements which look like using the phrase relatives instead of using brothers and sisters. We also encourage chiefs and community members to demonstrate allyship with our Two-Spirit, Two-Heart Indigenous Queer kin at community events like powwows, bound dances, and in ceremony, speaking affirmations of support and recognizing the presence and important roles of Two-Spirit, Two-Heart Indigenous Queer community members in these spaces. And lastly, we urge our membership to not forget our Two-Spirit relatives in conversation and strategy on Bill 5 and Bill C5, and to not forget all the hard work done during the national inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, trans-identifying Two-Spirit plus people. The national inquiry and its 231 calls for justice highlight that our Two-Spirit women and girls experience disproportionately high rates of harm and violence in the context of resource extraction, industrial development, and all of its supporting infrastructures like man camps, the related environmental destruction, and safety concerns regarding increased traffic through our territories. Leadership and technicians, you can build in the calls for justice in your strategic plans that respond to Bill 5, Bill C5, and the developments around the Ring of Fire. On the Chiefs meeting membership website for this assembly, you can find a briefing note which summarizes our priorities and provides recommendations for chief, leadership, and technicians. To all relatives present in assembly, online, and spiritually, the Keepers of Circle welcome meaningful, respectful, loving, kind, and inclusive conversations and interactions as we move forward side by side to do the work that is needed to continue building strong, healthy, loving nations, communities, families, and individuals. Chimagwech.
Ontario Regional Chief Abram Benedict.
Which to our representatives from our circle keepers. I want to say Yawangoa, miigwech to all of you for the last 2 days. We had some great discussions, some great dialogue. We're moving in the right direction. I reflect upon the last 2 days and the work that we've done, the work that we have to do. There's a lot of work to do. It's such a great honor to represent and support each and every one of you in this room, in our region. I know that as you go back home, there's a lot of work there in the community. There's a lot of good things happening. There's a lot of good things happening in each and every one of your communities amidst the adversity and the challenges. There's a lot of good things happening in this region. And that's because of all of the strong leadership that we have in our region. Today, over the last 2 days, we've acknowledged some special people. We take a moment to recognize those who've disappeared. We acknowledge our survivors and what that means to each and every one of us and the impacts that that's had on all of our communities. We're going to continue to hold the government accountable and continue to support our survivors, make sure that the resources are there for the recoveries and all the work that needs to be done and the healing that needs to be done. There's so much trauma in our community, so much grief. We took a moment yesterday to acknowledge the leaders that have come before us And I know that every community in our region, across Turtle Island, continues to deal with grief in so many ways. Our communities feel like they're always grieving. I know that through our discussions, we talked about having to bring forward a regional wellness strategy to support one another. And that's something that our Leadership Council will be looking at and advancing. How do we support our regions? How do we support our communities in wellness? One thing that I've always talked about as being the regional chief is partnerships. It's extremely important to me. It's also about communicating, building respect to ensure those who support us, those who are in opposition to us, and those who want to support us understand the unique relationship and responsibility that we have, but also what the government has as a treaty partner, its obligation, the fiduciary responsibility that the government has to us and why, the resources that they continue to want, and what that means around the jurisdiction and sovereignty that each and every nation in our region has. Jurisdiction, the inherent right to self-determination, to support your communities. We're going to continue to do that. As we close today, I want to acknowledge all the hard work of the staff, the Chiefs of Ontario, for putting on these last 2 days. I would like a round of applause for each and every one of them. To our great speakers here, Vera has kept us online, had some good lines. Saved by the Bell was one of them. That was a really good one. I like that one. Did it really quick, and then she said a mic on mic. That was another good one. You have lots of humor. Some of the things we deal with are very, very challenging. The 1965 Indian Welfare Agreement is super important to us. The long-term reform, clean drinking water, closing the housing gap. We have mandates and resolutions defining the work that we need to do, that we need to continue to do. And we're going to continue to do that. We'll continue to do that in the best of our ability and unity. But there are some things that we need to continue to think about. That's how do we exercise our jurisdiction? The last resolution that talked about the nuclear. One of the continuously emerging challenges in this region is overlapping territory. And we need to think about how do we keep unity, but how do we find a way forward? As well as around our near ban discussion. How do we remain that respectful? Are we the ones in this room who should determine who are First Nations or who are not? Is that what we want to do? If it is, that's fine by me. How do we do that? Or do we not get into that? So as the work we do as the Ontario Regional Chief's Office, the Chiefs of Ontario, these are things that we're going to continue to help support you and support your communities around those decisions that need to be made. And so as I mentioned in my opening comments, we have shrunk our 3-day down into a 2-day. And so it's important that we have your feedback on that. And we're going to have a survey going out. And I encourage each and every one of you, if you can, please provide us your feedback. We want to make sure that we're evolving to adapt to what you're saying and how we conduct these things. You'll notice that we did put our resolutions first, on the first day, because we want to make sure there's enough time for the dialogue. There's enough time to have those difficult conversations, but also talk about unity and a way forward, understanding the uniqueness in our region. Our region is so unique. We have to make sure that we're respecting that, because we've talked about the challenges, the external, outside of our region. But it's not within our communities that the threats are. It's at the federal government and the provincial governments, those who are supposed to be treaty partners and living up to their obligations. And so we're going to continue to hold them accountable to the best of our ability. So I want to say Yamagoa for each and every one of you for continuing to support the work that we do as a region. I lift up all of our leadership, all of our technicians, and I hope that everybody has enjoyed the last 2 days. I look forward to us being back together in a couple of weeks at the AFN. Yes, that may be frustrating, but think about how we can continue to come up with solutions to improve our region and your communities, and exercising our jurisdiction, but also supporting you as leadership. Building capacity is extremely important to me. How does the Chiefs of Ontario help build your capacity? How do our PTOs help build your capacity to exercise your jurisdiction? Our organizations are not rights holders. You are the representative of the rights holders, and that's extremely important. Make sure our organizations respond that way. There's lots of work to go around, but there's a lot of great things happening. And that's because of all of the great things that are happening in your community. So again, miigwech, Analunkla. I look forward to seeing us all together again in a couple weeks in Ottawa.
Now we'll go miigwech, Ontario Regional Chief. The ladies wanted to remind you that they're still doing their Quad Councils raffle. They're still going to have tickets available, and they're going to do the draw next week. Isn't that right, Adam? I'd like to invite Dave Root. Dave Root's going to do the closing. Angela Trudeau is going to direct us in the closing ceremonies. So Dave?
Bonjour, Mina. Kiwait na Gabo, there's na kas mako again to them. Miigwech kana ge na baka nagman mandayeo kiman jiding ge ginwet kibido kading go genon. Yo ge ga bad na makko ge ginwa kinwam taman. Wajana kita ge ke ginwa ni gani na shine. So miigwech I was asked to do a reflection. I said, give me a glass of water and I'll say, hello. But no. I said, I just want to see my reflection in the glass. So I just wanted to put that out there. So I say, miigwech to the ORC and for the work that he's done and the work that he's done with his staff as well. And the organization of the coup, and everybody that organized this gathering, this Amawjidin Geginwit, miigwech kanageni nabakanaman manda. Smiigwech kanage gizgaswadaman yopoagan chigisheb, nijinge gizgaswadama opoagan. Jamenda Moga Maba Mishoma Sakanam Nabi Vijakrema Kibenonda Gwinge Ginumetio Sami Gwech Mandium Ke Weniganage and Nagdawen Mungium Ke Sami Gwech Yon Norden Gimin the Guanagio Monday Nest Seven Manda Norden Chinaquam the Mangugenon Bigogeo Nebi when it's Chaquam the Mangugeio Nebi. When me the gomen yo madzawin. Mi go gay ushkote, Jamendaman gay ushkote, Kinagoga Kinaman Piagic Skote, the Mudona Waginwa. Mi go gay chinakom the mung yoshkote. Semi gwech manda Giayan man P, mi game de waganan, or Mabin in Wakayagic. Semi gwech, Gimakwen Magazwat Pinojiak. Chanagdawen Magua or Benochiak. Migo gay, Manda Niganing Wiener Shine gay inuit. Semi Gwetch Mamba a Kensijake, a Matabajake and P. Bigwetch go gay go. Semi Gwetch Manda Kigishi Tang gay inuit one Pio, we just gay Wiener gum tago ingo gay inuit. We go game over Mishomas Semi Gwetch. I just want to say thank you for the few days that we're here together. I want to thank the chief and the staff and everybody else, the organizers that were all here and everything that was brought together. And I say miigwech to those grandfathers, those Eagle staffs for standing here with us as well, leading us. And thanking the young men that are at the big drum as well. So I say miigwech for that Cusans, that little drum as well. So I say thank you again to all of you and everybody that was a part of this gathering. So I say miigwech. Miigwech yo. How miigwech? Miigwech Adam. Miigwech.
Bonjour, Kinawea, Bidabanan, Quet, Indigo, Neme and Dodam, Serpent River First Nation, Don Shaba. So, Apshkomingwech, to everyone for attending. How we're going to do this is we're going to have our Haudenosaunee relatives dance out our ORC counterclockwise this time. And then one time around, out. And we'll have our Eagle staffs, carriers, please get your staffs and bring them over to the entrance over there. Once our Haudenosaunee dancers dance our ORC out, their style, their way, then we'll proceed with the closing of the circle with 2 push-ups of our big drum, and then the Eagle staffs will start proceeding clockwise with everybody following them around and then out. So if we could get as many people to come and pick a flag, that'd be great. And then start proceeding to close out our 2 days. Apchkomigwech, Dinaway Maganidug. if we can get some people behind the Eagle staff to dance out, that'd be awesome. Miigwech.
stopped at one spot.
Miigwech, you have to write a story for your.
Are you chairing the AFN next, Adam?
Yes.
Yeah?
Oh, that's right. Couple of weeks.
So what's gonna happen?
Yeah, there was a little tension this time around, you know, a couple of those resolutions. Oh, boy. What's that? It's okay. It's okay. They weren't particularly necessary. We can get started on them, I think. Yes. Before